Just tell me when to start.
Okay, it is recording, so anytime you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Got Behaviors, Get Proactive. My name is Tracy Sharlow, and I'm very thankful to everyone who has asked me to come and present at their wonderful conference. I've heard so many great things about it, and we're going to get started right now. So I have been teaching for 35 years, adapted PE, and this is the first year that is coming up in September where I will not be. I am retired and very excited about it. I'm quite active myself, and I love movement. I feel it creates joy, and I'm always happy to share that with my students. One thing that I am I have very strong thoughts about is the power of our impact on our students. We have the ability to create power. Power is purposeful, optimistic, wisdom-enhancing resilience. And each of those words is very powerful and within their own word structure, but together it just creates a lot to think about. How did I find my power? I found my whys first, and my own whys are built upon the 3 Ps. Purpose, the intentions which lead us to develop student and staff expectations. Passion, the energy brought to our purpose. And presence, how that energy and purpose influence our students and our ability to collaborate with other providers. And indefinitely, all of these Ps will lead to advocacy for both students and profession. So we're going to talk today about behaviors, and of course that would mean we'd be talking about behavior management skills. They can either make or break a teacher. You could have the best lesson plan in the world, but if your students are not engaged, you've really lost that lesson. So great teachers have great behavior management skills. Match your behavior plan to align with your program needs. That is very important. Another thing to keep in mind is sometimes what we see as a failure to behave properly is actually a failure to communicate properly. Behavior is communication. Ellen Nussbaum is an author, and I really have enjoyed reading one of her books, and it's 10 Things Every Child with Autism Wishes You Knew. I would highly suggest that everyone reads that. And this is a quote from her: honor a child's behavior as her attempt to communicate is the only way she can at that moment. If she were able to use her words, she would. So thinking about behavior, we need to focus on executive functioning skills. And these are a set of cognitive processes that are learned throughout a child's development. They're necessary for important decisions that we make, like think, plan, stop, and do, which can include behavioral control, paying attention, remaining on task, and making appropriate choices due to the inability to inhibit actions and reactions. So I like to take a proactive plan to managing behaviors. And what is that? Personable responsibility outcomes. And why? To establish behaviors to safely and successfully participate in general PE. Personal, we set personal meaningful intentions. Responsibility-based should be reflective of behaviors in need of shaping into responsibility-based behaviors. Outcomes are setting purposeful intentions to create responsibility which lead to and create positive outcomes. And why proactive in APE? Well, read this cartoon. You've got a problem with avoiding personal accountability? Yeah, and whose fault is that? That is so indicative of what our youth, where they're at these days. So being responsible helps a person make decisions and conduct themselves with appropriate behaviors. And basically just taking responsibility of behaviors. First, you have to be able to acknowledge them. And this is how we're going to help our kids be safe and successful in life. The purposeful development of these skills, it's a big learning curve, and it's a long hike up a mountain. And we have to be there for our students and help them in all ways necessary. So obviously APE, just like physical education, needs to focus on physical literacy. Shape America has a great statement, and I highly endorse this statement, but I look at it in a little bit of a different way. I look at it in more of a backward design where I focus on the healthy development of the whole person. And this is my son. He's doing a headstand on a paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard. And that represents to me what physical literacy is, because he has developed the ability, the competence and confidence through a wide variety of physical activities across multiple environments to be able to do this. So first he learned how to do a headstand in physical education. Then he practiced it in a number of different places, and he developed the competence and confidence, and therefore the ability to finally do it on a stand-up paddleboard. Another thing that I really focus on in my teaching is Casel's 5 core competencies for social emotional learning. I love this diagram of the wheel, and these are the areas, 5 areas: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills that are going to enable our students to be the best students that they can be. And this is what it's going to look like in my classroom. My student learning outcomes. Today, I will be kind to others, believe in myself, and try new activities. Pick myself up after I have failed and try something again. Be grateful, be aware, and develop a physically literate lifelong plan of health and wellness. And we do all this and life is good. Jody Carrington has a great statement here, Dr. Jody Carrington. Every time you think of calling a kid attention seeking this year, consider changing it to connection seeking and see how your perspective changes. If we can look at our students in that light, instead of thinking that they're always seeking attention, we're going to be able to see them for who they really are. Once again, a reminder, behavior is communication. If we keep remembering that, we're going to really understand our students and the whys of what they are, why they are behaving the way they are. I was reading a nice New York State Teachers Union article, and I really liked this quote from the 2019 Teacher of the Year. I have a significant problem with the term achievement gap. That term misses the point of education. It should be called opportunity gap. My students do not lack the skills to succeed. They lack the opportunity to compete with their peers across the state. This led me to develop my own in reflection of my students. My students do not lack the skills to succeed. They come to me having an opportunity gap. We need to understand their minds, speak their language, and build a relationship based on common found communication so we understand them and they understand us. Only then are we able to teach and are they able to learn. And a part of this is focusing on the ability for our students to process information. We need to be respectful of our students. I asked my, 3 years ago, a young man, Sam, became a new teacher and I was his mentor. And I asked him, what did you learn the most from me, Sam, in the first year? And he told me wait time, that we can't expect our students to respond in the way that we expect others to respond. They are who they are. They have their own special abilities, and we need to respect that. He also told me that data does make a difference, and the collection of data is really important. In my program, the way, as you will see as I continue to explain, I really focus on SEL and social emotional learning. And just like taking data on gross motor skills, we need to take data on social emotional learning skills that our kids are trying to improve upon as well. It really helps even indicate the most appropriate placement along the continuum of physical education for our students. I have some rating scales that I've come up with, and I'd be happy to share them with anyone. They're formative and summative, and it's just basically taking data on 7 important prosocial skills that I have identified that help students be safe and successful in the general physical education and adapted physical education environment. So quick story, I've started with an applied behavioral analysis program about 10 years ago. And one day, one of my great teacher assistants, paraprofessionals, said to me, "Wow, you are tough, Tracy." And I thought to myself, what? My first reaction is, oh my gosh, she's calling me old PE. I can't handle this. So I thought about it and I really reflected. And I thought, tough teachers really are good teachers. We teach with passion, purpose, and presence. We teach tough love. We set parameters and expectations for growth. We're kind, considerate, focused, care about our students, listen to and communicate appropriately with our students, and seek out and collaborate with all other providers. We actively seek out solutions to shape behaviors, to improve behaviors, and deliver a safe, consistent, predictable lesson plan where we set attainable and achievable behavioral expectations, goals for student growth, and teaching guidelines for paraprofessionals. Predictable lesson plans really equate to communicating for success. And this is what I do with my kiddos. I always do an instant activity, a warm-up, earn free choice, and we'll talk about what that is. Lesson of the day, earn free choice again, closure, cool down, line up, and a final thing we do is give final praise to students and staff, especially to staff. You want them to buy into your program and be the best paras they can be. You need to assist them to getting there by showing them how much you appreciate them. Big board, earn choice is my form of communication. When I started with the applied behavioral analysis program, every student had their own communication board, their own schedule board. And I made this big 5x7 board that's up in my gymnasium with these big cards on it. And this is what my students communicate with. And what happens is it creates a win-win situation, as you'll learn, because I'm going to reward movement with movement. Students with autism are very self-motivated by preferred activities. So it also creates community. Instead of each student having their own schedule, we all share one schedule. And this just really helps with a lot of the prosocial skills that we need to have in physical education. So can we reshape behaviors? You betcha, we sure can. And I'm going to talk to you about the methods that I use that have been very, very successful. They're evidence research-based and they're awesome. So the focus of today really is the 4 functions of behavior. Why do I act out? This procedure keeps it really simple. We have 4 functions and why kids act out, and it's for social attention. Tangibles are activities that they would like, escape or avoidance of activities we are doing, or sensory stimulation, and or another way to say that would be automatic response. So social attention is, I know we probably have lots of kids going through our minds right now. Hey, look at me. For some kids, it's better to obtain bad attention than no attention at all. So what are we going to do here? We're going to place the behavior on extinction or planned ignoring. We're not going to give that child any attention as long as they are safe themselves and everybody else is safe in the situation. Because the more attention they receive, the more they're going to act up. And the more attention we give them, the more that it's going to resonate with them. Hey, if I do this, I get my teacher's attention. So give your attention to the deserving kids, the ones with on-task behavior. We're going to return to big board choice, earn choice. So we'll say we're in our warm-up section of our lesson, and we're doing a dance, and I have a student, we'll call him Nathan, who is off not paying attention, not with us during the dance. He's doing his own little thing. He's off task. As long as he's safe and everyone else is safe, I'm going to ignore him. And as soon as we have finished our warm-up, I'm going to tell all of the students that they have earned big choice, about a minute worth of big choice. And Nathan has to come with Mrs. Sharlow, and he has to practice. the dance that we just did. I'm going to pick, a few parts of the dance and have him do them with me because I don't want to make him do the whole dance. We already know he's off task. We don't want to set him up for failure. Once he's completed a little bit, like maybe 30, 40 seconds with me, I'm going to say, great job, Nathan. You're following directions. You may go have big choice. Eventually, Nathan's going to realize that, geez, if I just do what I'm supposed to do in the first place, then I'm not going to have to go and work with Mrs. Sharlow. I can have a choice with all of my friends. So as I explained, this is what it looks like. And active students, it's a win-win situation, having the students be active and rewarding activity with good behavior. So tangibles and activities is the second function of behavior. This is when a student wants to gain access to a specific toy or a desired activity. They are not going to want to do what you're doing because they want something else. The solutions are going to be first then strips, or once again, the big board choice. First then strips, or my turn, your turn, look like this. First, the teacher's expectation of the student. Then the student earns a preferred activity. So the student does what we want. The student goes to the track with us. And then what happens is they're going to get rewarded and they're going to earn their preferred activity. Student is going to earn that activity based on following our directions. Once again, it's a win-win situation. We have activity and more activity. Or once again, we can go back to big board choice. Escape and avoidance is the third function of behavior. The student wants to get away or avoid an activity. Once again, we can go with big board choice or first then strips. The big board choice is probably my best visual that I have because it does address all four behaviors: social attention, tangibles and activities, escape and avoidance, and sometimes it even really can help with sensory stimulation to get the kids back on task. The automatic or self-stimulation response is when the student enters an enjoyable self-stimulating activity or a well-practiced automatic response. They are soothing and help them feel safe in their environments. Many of us know what self-stimulation is. We hear some examples of what a student with autism may exhibit. It really does help the student calm down, but it's not always the best to have going on. So what I like to do is first check with my education staff and have a team game plan, because probably that student is doing the same self-stimulation throughout the whole day across all the different environments. I ignore the behavior unless it's endangering themselves or others, and just always safety first. But I ask my staff, especially the behavior therapists, can I use this behavior potentially with some of my more involved students? Can I use it to help them move? Can I take a child that likes to whip a string in front of their face? Can I take a string and whip that string and have the student chase me in the gym? And usually my behavior therapist will say, yeah, great, get them moving, because we know that movement's going to increase all the good hormones, the release of good hormones, and help that child calm down. The other thing we can try is first then strips with a highly preferred activity second. These are all research evidence-based strategies. So here's the key to everything. Key to behaviors is, what is the antecedent? It's the event preceding or leading up to the onset of the behavior. So we think of it as a potential antidote or the key to solving the why of the behavior once it's identified. Once you figure out the antecedent, you can proactively plan and deflect future behavior. Specific behaviors have specific antecedents, and each kid is going to respond differently to the different antecedents or the different plans that you come up with. And remember, it's always going to be about relationships, always. And also remember, to be successful, we have to make sure that we communicate in the manner that most appropriately meets and enhances our students' individual learning styles. Oops, so sorry. So we're going to talk about behavior plans now. Now that we know the 4 functions of behavior. And the first student I'm going to talk about has attention deficit, ADHD. It's very colorful, presents differently in every person, and we have a responsibility to proactively set up our students for success. So the student I'm going to talk about is Caleb, and he has ADHD and a little bit of narcissism that goes with that. He gets a lot of pleasure out of unsafe behaviors. He likes to run and dart at others. He sneaks up behind and purposefully scares people, jumps out at others and growls. And these behaviors were followed by a passive-aggressive, challenging smile right in your face. It's very, it really, he knows how to push buttons. So students and staff didn't feel safe. And this is a very immature and inappropriate behavior for an 8th grader. So it was time to implement a behavior plan. So the power of the antecedent is what we're going to talk about here. I would walk up from the school that I taught in to the middle school where Caleb was, and I did direct adapted PE push-in with him in his general 8th grade PE class. What I found out, because I didn't accompany Caleb on his trip from his classroom to the gymnasium, I found out he runs out of his special ed classroom. He runs down the hall. He doesn't listen to the TAs to stop. He then continues to run into the gym, darting and weaving through every other student with a crazed, passive-aggressive facial expression. And he just can't calm himself down at the start of class, and he continues to challenge staff by being disrespectful, like lying down during directions, poking the person next to him. So what I realized is that we could reshape this behavior, and I really feel that Caleb was getting revved up on his way to physical education. So we should change the behavior in the hall first and see if that changes his behavior in the gymnasium. So we're going to reshape that behavior, reinforce good choices. So here's what I came up with. And of course, I went through the behavior therapist, I went through the classroom teacher, the guidance counselor, and the supervisor, and they all okayed this plan. So if Caleb runs in the hall, he must walk back to the place he started running and walk from there to the gym. We're setting expectations for behavior prior to entry of the gym. If Caleb breaks any other school rules, he must once again turn around and walk back to the place of the infraction. Once he is in the gymnasium and has arrived with appropriate behavior, he starts on a 3-strike rule. The first infringement intention is to set him up for success with just a reminder. So he gets a reminder. You know, if he does something like he's laying down and not listening, I would say to him, hey, Caleb, here's your reminder. We don't lay down when it's time to listen. We have to be respectful of the teacher. So you need to sit up. And now we're going to start the 3-strike rule. After the 3rd strike, which we were pretty successful. Caleb really only had 3 strikes once in the whole semester that we initiated this plan. He has to return to class and he loses all of his classroom points, which he starts with 4 points when he leaves his classroom. And his goal is to go back to the classroom and still have all 4 points so he can earn some really great rewards in the classroom. So another thing that I always have set up for my students is I always make sure that they know that they can proactively request a walk and a talk with the APE teacher or a TA. This allows them to leave a situation like the gymnasium where they may be feeling anxious. It helps them save face, get a little breathing in, get a little walk and talking in, and then we can return to class, back into class once they don't feel anxious anymore. It's very, very helpful. So actually, like I said, it worked really well with Caleb, and I'm going to move on now to something I call the golden ticket. And as you can see, there's a golden throne right there, and it was the answer to everything in this story. So have a little girl named Willow, and she's in my summer swim program. I didn't work with Willow during the school year. So what was happening was she was showing up to swimming, and she was not, the first time she got in the pool and did great. And the second time I noticed she didn't get in the pool. So I asked the teacher what was going on. And they said that Willow wears a pull-up. She's 8 years old. And she has, her cognitive abilities are good enough and that she should not have to wear a pull-up, and she can use the bathroom. So I asked if I could set up a behavior program, because they said they were not going to allow Willow to get in the pool if she wore a pull-up. And Willow's a big need of hers was to be in control and feel in control of situations, because she was anxious. Her behavior was definitely anxiety driven. So she's trying to escape or avoid an activity because she wants to be in control. So I set up expectations. I told her that I expect her to go in the pool just like all of the other kids, but I'm going to do something special for Willow. And I'm going to allow her to get out of the pool anytime she wants to use the bathroom. So I'm giving her choice, and choice is really important with kids. It helps them feel like they're in control. It's really going to unlock the student potential. So what happened was Willow was in the pool doing great. She didn't have her pull-up on. She was doing great. She agreed to the plan. And then about 10 minutes in, I noticed she got out of the pool. And I thought, oh, I failed. And but lo and behold, within 5 minutes, she was back in the pool. So at the end of class, I checked in with the teacher. And the teacher told me that Willow had gotten out of the pool to go to the bathroom. And after she used the bathroom appropriately, she decided she wanted to get back in the pool. So this was also successful for her. Fun, engagement, things like swimming. Oh my gosh, kids can't get enough of it. And we need to tap into we know what they want. We just have to set them up for success. So the next student I'm going to talk about is Caden. And Caden, he really has a lot of anxiety, and he is a high-end spectrum needs kid. Like an Asperger's, and every time he would come into physical education, walk in the door, I would think there's success, because he's so anxious. So what I did is I came up with a plan for Caden, where he could approach being a physical education student a little differently than we would with a general student. I was going to consider it a success if he stood or crouched within a typical proximity to others. And by crouching, I mean Caden liked to get into like almost a Hobbit Gollum style, like just grasping on his knees and getting hunched over and rocking back and forth. But it was a win for us because he was in proximity to the other students, and they didn't see anything wrong with it. So the reason that we allowed this to happen is because I had witnessed Caden in adapted physical education in a self-contained class, and he did the same thing. So we figured if we could get him into a general PE class and allow him to create a comfort level there, it would be in his best interest, just as a student in general. We all as a team decided this was the best for him, and he actually did very, very well. By January of this year, we initiated this plan in September, and by January, he was actually joining in games and invasion type games, and loved the role of goalie. And we just allowed him to always play goalie because this is where he was finding his success. And we just knew that we needed to wait out Caden, and hopefully eventually he would develop more and more skills. We're going to talk now about a student named Colin. And Colin His major behavior doesn't really follow the four functions of behavior, but he always questioned what was going on in general PE. And the teacher in the general PE class, Mrs. Tyler, had a rule. First, students, if they disagreed, would discuss the two teams, and they would kind of do a vote. How many people think that it was an infraction? If an infraction happened, how many people on each team thought that it was fair? And so Colin couldn't do that. He just couldn't accept what others thought because his interpretation was just the only thing that he saw. So the next conflict resolutions activity that Mrs. Tyler's students would go on to would be a rock, paper, scissors, shoot to figure out, to move on and get the game going. Colin could not buy into that either. He actually just couldn't understand rock, paper, scissors, shoot in a moment where he was so upset. Well, what I understood or learned, gained insight into is he didn't really understand rock, paper, scissors, shoot, especially when he was in that conflict cycle mode. So what we did was we created a management behavior plan to accept defeat. And the reason we did this, the what, was to reshape behaviors or to learn to deal with conflict. So I made up a game, and what it was is it's a rock, paper, scissors, which way game. And we didn't go to PE. We took a day off of physical education, and Colin and I just worked together. And we worked on this game. So the rules for this one-to-one game are laughter makes the game fun. We have to laugh. Partners state which direction they want to walk down the hall before we start the game. We stand back to back and on command, rock, paper, scissors, jump and turn, play your hand motion, rock, paper, scissors. The winner of the round gets to walk in the direction they chose. So the loser must graciously accept. Everyone's a winner if we all just agree to agree, is what the main rule is. And why do we do this? Colin needed to learn that defeat can still be fun. Play and friendship are the most important factor. And how did we do this? We established a fun, trusting, simple interaction with relationship building. We had a great day that day, Colin and I, and believe it or not, he did pretty well with this and ended up going back into physical education. And the very next time he had a conflict, I was right there beside him, and we just reviewed that we were going to do the rock, paper, scissors, shoot. So Colin is this kind of kid. He believes what he believes. And one of the things he told me, he hates physical education. He hates exercising because he doesn't need to, because he's going to be an astronaut someday. So what do we do? What do we do when a kid says something like that to us? We prove to them that being an astronaut takes more than just being an astronaut. There's a step-by-step process to become an astronaut. And as you can see right in this area, you have to pass a NASA space physical and meet certain requirements. So we talked about that. I shared a story about a friend of mine who went to school to be a nuclear physicist as well, because he has an interest in that. And he bought into it, So it's basically, we need to be creative. If we can't beat them, then we need to join them and enter into their reality sphere. Show empathy and understanding towards the way they perceive the world. It differs from our perception of the world, obviously. So once again, it's just really important to keep calm and remember that communication matters. I love this quote over here by Tony Gaskin. Communication to a relationship is like oxygen to life. Without it, it dies. It's just so important. And let's remember that opportunity gap. Opportunity gap is an awesome concept to think about when we think of our students with special needs. We need to teach with purpose, passion, and presence. And we need to think outside the box at all times to create opportunities for our students to successfully learn across multiple environments so they can master skills. We need to accept and acknowledge and focus on their individual-based needs. And sometimes we're really all they have. And I know a lot of us think about this right now during this whole COVID experience we're going through. It's been really tough. We have to be there for them. And we have to think the way they think and communicate the way they communicate. So be the difference. Don't judge, instead believe. Understand, accept, advocate, be the best you can be, just be awesome and shine on. We're on this journey together. You can contact me at the following information. And I want to thank everyone for allowing me to share what I love to do today. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for watching this session from EPEW 2020. We're saving the next few minutes for you to ask those final questions before we log off. If you have any questions afterwards, please reach out to the presenter or send a message to EPEW through our website.
Don't forget that we have more amazing sessions going on. Head over to our website, epew-cp.weebly.com, and look for the virtual EPEW 2020 tab.
You can also access the presentations on YouTube by typing in the hashtag EPEW2020.
We'd like to thank the amazing EPEW committee for all their hard work over this past year. This event would not have been possible without their dedication, commitment, and volunteering their time to providing high-quality professional development.
Don't forget about our other events like our socials and share times. Links can be found on our website.
Remember our motto for EPEW, come to learn, leave as family. Thank you for joining our family today.